America and the world is learning more and more details of the events that took place on May 25th, 2020, when Derek Chauvin showed no sympathy for the cries of George Floyd as the world watched his last moments. The details are evoking a range of emotion from those who have testified and those who watched the court proceedings.
Some of us black folk, some of us black men, we're not gonna stand there. We're gonna have to intervene in some way. They ain't gonna kill us like that, and we remain spectators. Because somewhere I read, silence is not an option. I don't stand with the silence. That's the last two sentences of your letter to Drew, your letter to your nephew. But America needs to understand that too. We got a self-respect. We got a self-defense. And we intervene when you start killing us like that.
I'm sorry.
We intervene out of love, brother. Out of deep love. We do it for Mom A.
Let me ask you this, because everyone I saw on that video, and I asked this earlier, everyone I saw had some empathy, saw the humanity, felt the humanity in George Floyd, as you said, foibles and all. We're not thinking that when someone's laying on the pavement in that situation, like what they've done wrong. We're thinking about when you're taking the life from a human being. Why is it that every single, and when you said the police thing, everybody saw his humanity and felt it, except for the police officer?
Joining us to discuss this issue is Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad and Dr. Asad El Malik. Thank you, brothers, for joining us, and let's get straight down to it. And I'll start with you, Dr. Abdul Halim, and then we'll go to our brother, Dr. Asad. So you saw the emotion that came from Brother Cornel West, and the question I want to ask is, should that be the spirit of Black people going forward, as who see the use of excessive force by members of the law enforcement intervene?
Well, we remember, Brother Willie, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's Criterion speech on July 4th. And there's no way that we can be filming these kind of things, calling the officers expletives and things of that nature, while we watch them take the lives of our people unjustifiably. And so at a certain point in time, you're going to have to risk your life in order to save a life. And so that's where we stand today. You have a life that God gave to you, and your life is precious. And if you're not willing to defend it, you may not be worthy to have it.
Thank you, my brother. And Dr. Asad, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Every animal in nature has the ability and the right to defend their lives, its life. And we have to, but let me give it a little sidebar. I think what's been the type of trauma and terrorism that we have faced in these 460 years that we have been in this nation has had such an effect on our psyche that we may not currently have the courage or the ability to strike in a way in which we need to strike. So we have to find that within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know, there have been demands by people who are advocating for police reform, for changes in training, to defunding the police, and all type of calls for reform. But despite that, the number of Black men, women, and children who die in the hands of the police have not stopped. So from your perspective, why hasn't it stopped? We'll go with Dr. Asad, and then we'll come back to Dr. Halim.
What I tell people all the time is that African Americans have to realize that we are a second-class citizenship or second-class citizenry. And that this type of, if you look at the trial this week, I believe his name was Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman, and he is the most senior police officer in that department. He said none of this was in his training. What Chauvin did to George Floyd was not in training. It's not about training. It's not about the funding. It is about the perception of Black Americans in the minds of white Americans, and even in the minds of some Black Americans. We are a second-class citizen. There's a word for it. It's called infrahumanization. Infrahumanization is when the in group, which happens to be the white group, the group that has the power, the privilege, and the authority, sees the out group as less human And until we understand that they are operating from a perception that we are no more above the savage or the animal, there's no amount of training that can change that psyche.
And what do you say about that, Dr. Lehman, in regards to, as he said, the police officer said that what Derek Chauvin did was not even in the training, but people are calling for a change in the training.
My brother, Minister Farrakhan has taught me, you cannot retrain a reprobate racist mind. You either got to get rid of them and find some people who are less reprobate and less racist. And we've got to understand that we have a demand on the back of our newspaper. It appeared on the back of the Muhammad Speaks. We want freedom, full and complete freedom. We want justice. You know, we want equal justice on the law. We want equality of opportunity. Mr. Farrakhan told me, brother, that the Muslim program is our constitution, and it's not possible for them to give us freedom, justice, and equality because it's not in their nature. So the question we have to ask ourselves today is, what happens if Chauvin is acquitted, or there's a hung jury, or he's convicted and gets a lesser sentence? What happens then? It's not an amount of training or anything. And the irony is that the murder of George Floyd took place on May 25th, which is the beginning of the Constitutional Convention in 1787 of America. So America is at a crossroads now, and she's facing a racial reckoning that during that Constitutional Convention, they did not include us or think of us, and they made two major compromises in the Constitutional Convention so that they could have one nation under God, but it did not include us. And now the 13th, 14th, the 15th Amendment was supposed to fix that, but it hasn't fixed their minds. So we're going to have to seek another solution, and I believe that solution will ultimately be separation.
And so we heard our brother Dr. Abdul Halim talk about Dr. Assad, where he said about whether or not if Derek Chauvin is found guilty or he's found innocent. From your perspective, what would be the impact of the verdict? If he's found guilty, how would that impact Black America? And what would probably be Black America's response? And if he's found innocent, how would that impact Black America? Then we'll come back to our brother as well.
I think obviously a guilty verdict will serve the benefits of justice, and we'll be able to say that justice was achieved and delivered in that case. However, I'm not expecting a guilty verdict. I'm expecting either a hung jury or acquittal. And I'm sure that we remember this, the summer activities of the protest. I'm sure we'll see a lot of protest. I'm sure we'll see a lot of lofty speeches from politicians and different members of our community. But maybe I'm cynical, but I don't believe anything will change in our psyche, nor will it change in theirs.
Mm-hmm. What do you say, Dr. Abdul Halim?
This is the 53rd anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. I can't get that out of my mind because I'll never forget that day as a young boy, about 12 years old, and what I heard a woman scream out of my grandmother's tenement building as I was going to catch the bus to go uptown. Said, "Oh my God, they done killed Dr. King." And I watched Harlem burn after that. I can't forget that day. And the Reverend Barber in North Carolina says we're in the third Reconstruction. And other people are repeating that. I've heard other commentators say third. Well, what happened during the first two Reconstructions? We made progress and we got knocked back. Then we got civil rights and we got knocked back. And now we're in the midst of, after 50 years of trickle-down economics and conservative policies, we find ourselves talking about a third Reconstruction after electing a Black president for 2 terms. And we see the pushback after the 2020 election of what's going on in all of these states. Beloved, we're going to have to ask and demand for measurable, observable, tangible progress before we believe anything after 460 plus years of injustice, slavery, suffering, and death.
Yes, sir. So we'll come back. So what do you all see as possible solutions? Like, it's almost a repeat. Somebody gets filmed getting beat or killed by the police. It's anger, protest, marches, but it chills out and then it goes right back. So, you know, we have a variety of organizations that say this is the solution, this is the solution. So we'll start with Brother Dr. Assad, and then we'll come to Dr. Abdul Halim. What are some possible solutions as we go to our break? We have 2 minutes. If you can give us a quick response to that.
Separation. That's the answer. Separation. On May 25th, 2020 is when I decided to leave the United States of America, because I have traveled the world and I know what it's like to walk on soil and to be liberated from the idea of race, to be liberated from being a black person and graduated into just being a human being. So for the individual, those who are able, those who have the means, there's a big world out here, and there's a world where our skin color is not a curse, and that we can find our humanity and our agency and our ability to live a life free from racism and white supremacy.
Wow, that's interesting. On the very same day of the actual murder of our brother George Floyd, you made the decision, and I've been following you on social media, to leave America. Wow. So Dr. Abdul Halim, what do you see as a solution? Our brother said separation. I know I'm not trying to be like a psychic, but I know you're going to go right.
That's the best and only solution. And having traveled to Africa on 2 occasions, and also having traced my own DNA to the people of the Ubuntu people of Angola, and the other part was a mixture of all of West Africa. You know, wherever we go, we're welcome. There's a liberating spirit when you leave the confines of the United States of America. Wherever you go, it could be the Caribbean, it could be Central South America, it could be Asia. Wherever you go, you feel like a weight is left off of your shoulders, and particularly when you go to the continent. Now, separation would be, for me, ideal here within the confines of the United States of America, because our blood, sweat, and tears built this country, and they owe us. And we can start with 100 million acres of land here. But until that time, they must work on freedom, justice, and equality within the social, political, and economic order of America. If not, then the continuation of the calamities will take place, and the continuation of the clash of the people will take place, until they decide and recognize that God's hand is against America, because she's unjust to the people that she enslaved, to the people whose land she stole, and to even her own poor whites.
And Dr. Asai, we'll close out with you on this very briefly. You say you're cynical about the outcome, despite the powerful testimony by Lieutenant Zimmerman and even the paramedics. So you still think there's a chance where this man can beat that charge?
I think I'm muted. During the Emmett Till trial, and this is what struck me, and I'll try to be brief. During the Chauvin trial last week, there was a 9-year-old girl who testified. And they showed a video of it. They didn't show her face, but she had a shirt that said love. And I thought that was, you juxtapose that against what she had to witness of brother Floyd being murdered, and the bravery that she displayed on that stand. During the Emmett Till trial, there was a man named Mose Wright who stood up and he said "Darhy," right, as he pointed out the killers, or the guys who kidnapped the white men who kidnapped Emmett Till. There was enough evidence to convict those men. There's enough evidence to convict Chauvin. And now the entire range of the killers of Mike Brown, George Zimmerman, all of these people that we have in between, and we've seen it over and over again, where these murderous cops get off. So
wow.
We have a history. I don't think history attests to the fact that this person will be convicted.
Yes, sir. So let us pause for our announcements from our sponsors. And when we return, our contributors will discuss the controversy surrounding the artist Lil Nas X. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1-ounce 39mm coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.